Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this session, we will continue our discussion on irregular verbs, and the focus of today's session will be on mithal. Now, here is a quick recap of the different categories of irregular verbs. We talked about mahmuz last time. This is where we have a hamza that shows up either in the fa location or the ain location or the lam location. Today, we are going to talk about mithal. So, we've said that there are two harfe illats, the vowel letter and the ya. So these are essentially vowels, u and e. Fele motil are verbs, irregular verbs that have either vowel or ya. Now, if the vowel or ya is in the first location, the fa location, then we call this a mithal. If the vowel or ya are in the middle, such as with qawala, then this is called ajwaf. And if the waw or ya are at the end, then this is called nakis. And then lafif means that we have two harfe illat. But anyway, today our focus is going to be on mithal. So mithal is the first of the mu'tal irregularities. Recall that a word is classified as mu'tal. Mu'tal comes from illat. Illat is illness. So mu'tal is something that has an illat. Recall that a word is classified. So I hope you also recognize that this sort of is a maf'ul. So something that has an illat is mu'tal. Recall that a word is classified as mu'tal when one of the root letters is a vowel, either waw or ya. A word is considered mithal when the first root letter, which is the fa kalima, is a vowel, so either waw or ya. When the first root letter is a wa, the word is further classified as mithale wawi. So mithal because the issue is with the first letter, and wawi because the issue is that we have a wa in the first letter. So if you have your fa kalima, the ain kalima, and the lam kalima, if we have a wa as the first letter of the three root letters, then this sort of a verb is called mithale wawi. Wawi because of the wow. This type of mithal is far more prevalent compared to mithale yai. When the first root letter is a ya, the word is further classified as mithale yai. So if instead of wow we have a ya as the first root letter, then this is called mithale yai. This type of mithal does not occur very frequently, but since it does occur sometimes, we still need to know how to deal with it. We are going to explore each type of mithal. So mithale wawi and mithale yai. First in the Salasi Mujarrad families, and then in the Mazid Fi families. So in this dream textbook, sometimes the babs are referred to as families, sometimes they're referred to as clans. So far, we've been calling these babs. So Mujarrad, we've been referring to as the Mazid, as the Salati Mujarrad babs. And in this dream textbook, the terminology used is Mazid Fi families, and the terminology that we've used is Abwab. So Arabic and Urdu refers to these families as Bab or Abwab, and in English they are called either families or clans. Okay, so I'm going to give you some.
Arif sir, a quick question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I was just wanting to know. So a vowel is only a ya or a wow. The hamza is not considered a vowel.
Yeah, at least in this textbook, the harfe illat specifically, waw and ya. Some textbooks will classify only waw and ya as a vowel. They would not classify hamza. Some other textbooks might classify hamza as a vowel. But by and large, hamza is not considered a harfe illat, whereas waw and ya at least in every textbook that I've seen, waw and ya are classified as harf-e illat.
Okay.
The more important thing is to recognize the rules associated with each, and that's what we are doing. Okay, so mujarrad. So this is the salasi mujarrad. So let's look at examples. Wajada, yajidu, wujudun. This is to find. So is this an irregular verb, and what is the categorization? So what do you see here? What are the root letters? Wow, Jim, Dal. So this
Wow,
is,
Jim Dal.
yeah. So this is a misale wawi. Misal
Wavi,
because the
misale Wavi होगा.
misal wawi because the misal is coming up front, because the issue is up front and it's a wow. And right up front you will notice why these are called irregular, because in the so yajidu is the fail mudare, and the mudare doesn't even have the root letter. And how, just looking at wajada, yajidu, wujudan, how would you know whether the root letter is waw or ya? So A, you get this with experience. B, as you understand the rules, you will figure out what the root letter is. But with experience, you will realize that the key word is wujud. So wajada, to find, and wujud, you will recognize that waw is the root letter. Then to promise, wa'ada, ya'idu, wa'adan. So this is also ajwa this is also misale wawi. And again, notice in the fail mudare, the waw goes away. And we'll understand, today we'll study the rules that will help you understand why this is happening. Wazana, yazinu, waznan. So may, waqa'a, yaqa'u, wuqu'an. This means to fall or to occur. Like a waqi'a is something that occurs. So waqa'a, yaqa'u, wuqu'an. Waritha, yarithu, virasan means to inherit from. So if I inherit from someone, that's called warithu. This is misale wawi.
उन्होंने
Okay, so
खुद
this
2
is
घंटे पहले कहा था. अब चलो कोई बात नहीं, तुरंत कर देना बात.
all right. Wazara yaziru wizran. This means to carry a load. Wajila yujalu means to be scared. Wasiya yasa'u means to have capacity. This word we are going to use today, ya'isa, ya'iasu, ya'asan. This means to despair, to worry, to be anxious. Wajaba, yajibu, wujuban means to be mandatory. So the word wajib comes from here. Waqafa, yaqifu, wukufan means to stand or stop. So when we hear in tajweed to do a waqf means to stop. So that's where this is coming from. Wasala, yasilu, wusulan. So this means to reach or to connect. Wazara, yazaru means to leave is, or to leave as is, or to let. Wasafa means to describe. Wa'aza means to advise or to admonish. The word waz, like a khatib gives a waz, that is, an admonishment or advice, normally, which is, full of emotion also. Wada'a means to ignore, and wahaba, yahabu, hibatan, this means to gift. And then some mazid fi, and I'm going over these with you because some of these words will be used in our exercises. Yassara, yuyassiru, taysiran means to make easy. So Rabbi yassir wala tuassir wa tammim bil khair, the dua that we keep saying, that is from family 2. So can you tell me what this family 2 is? What bab is this? Sarrafa, yusarrifu, tasrifan. So this is a bab taf'il, right? Allama, yu'allimu, ta'lim, ta'liman. So sarrafa, waqqara, yuwakkaru tawqiran. Then family 3, wa'ada. This is qatala, yuqatilu, and then either qitalan or muqatalatan. So this is mufa'ala. Family 3 is bab mufa'ala. So this is the revision of our babs also. Family 4 is bab ifal. Awratha. So varatha means to inherit, but awratha is to make inherit. So if we get to one of, so in Surah Baqarah, in the ayat that we'll either read today or in the next ayat or in the next class, we'll come across this word awratha, which means to make inherit. So one is I inherit, but then another is I make somebody else inherit. So awratha means to make inherit. This this is a mithal because there is an illat in the beginning. And then ayqana yuqinu, this means to be certain. Awlaja yuliju, this means to make enter. So you might remember from the Quran, yulijul layla wa nahar, yulijul nahara wa layl. So Allah makes the night enter into the day and the day enter into the night. This again, at this stage, you might not be sure whether this is mithal-e wawi or mithal-e yai. We will understand today what this is. But clearly there is an illat right up front. Family 5, tawajjah, yatawajjahu tawajjan. This means to face somebody. And in Urdu, when we say, tawajjah, that means to pay attention, which means you face somebody so you can pay attention. Tawakkala, yatawakkalu means to rely on someone. And then family 8, ittaqa'a yattaqi. This is bab iftial. And family 10 is istansara yastansiru. So that is bab istifal. All right, so these are some babs and their words. Here is another table I want to share with you, and we'll use this format. So when I give you a given, when we discuss a given word, we'll show the fail madi form of that word, then the fail mudare, the masdar, and then when you see fahuwa ismul fa'il, we'll say fahuwa, and then we'll give the ismul fa'il. Then the next row will be the mazi majhul, mudare majhul, masdar, which will be the same, and then fahuwa we'll say, and then ism, the maful version, because the maful comes from the mudare. The maful is the entity on which the action is happening, and that's why it's related to majhul. And then the third row, we'll give the amr, the command form, the negative command form, and then the ismul zarf. Sometimes you might also see a fourth row, which is the ismul a'la, and this will also be a revision of material that we've seen before. Okay, now let's get into the specific kind of ailments. The first ailment category under mithal is mithal-e wawi. So mithal-e wawi with salasi mujarrad. When dealing with mithal-e wawi, the following rules apply. So I'm going to go over these rules, and then several examples will be done to illustrate these rules. So remember, we are dealing with mujarrad, which means only the 3 root letters. We are not dealing with mazid fi. The first is that when we are dealing with wawi, the waw is always dropped in the mudare. So you might recall from some of the vocabulary that I showed you, you saw a waw in the mazi, but the waw in the mudare was dropped. So this is one basic rule, that if you have a mujarrad where the fa letter is a waw, in the mudare, the waw is just dropped. Since the waw is dropped in the mudare and the amr, I hope you realize that when we create the amr or the command, the first thing that we do is we remove the fail mudare indicator, and then we start with the first letter. If the first letter does not have Zair Zabar Pesh on it, then we add an alif. But the point to remember here is that the waw also does not appear in the command. And we are going to see an example of that over here. Another point is when if a sound is created, like for example, if we have a kasra and a waw, if we have a sound that sounds ugly, like you, so if we have an ew sound or other sounds that sort of, sound ew or sound ugly, then the waw transforms to a ya. So as we've said multiple times, the Arabs don't like ugly sounds. So when, because of the vowels, a sound is ugly, then the vowel is just changed. So if you have an U sound, then the waw is transformed to a ya, because a kasra followed by a ya is much more smooth than a kasra followed by a waw. So this is done for smoothness. There are always two masdar, the one that you must memorize and the one that always follows the pattern illa, and we'll see this shortly. But the first two rules are the more important ones. So take wa'ada, to promise. What are the root letters here? This is very simple. We are talking about misale wawi. So by definition, we know that the root letters are waw, ain, and dal. So these are our root letters. Now, what did I say? So under normal circumstances, forgetting all these rules and forgetting the illats, how would I make a fail mudare out of this? The normal way, if you take sort of a if you take daraba yadribu, how would we create, what would the fail mudare look like? Can somebody tell me? We would have ya, fatha, and then the fa letter. It would be
Yawada.
yaw. Let's say it is like bab daraba yadribu, so it would be yaw-i, yaw. Okay. Now the rule is that the waw with fail mudari is always dropped. So if you are dealing with mujarrad, the waw gets dropped, and what is left? Ya'idu. So this is the way fail mudari is created. You drop the waw. Ya'idu sounds much more smooth than yaw'idu. So ya'idu is the fail mudari. And then the masdar is wa'adan. That's something to remember. And then wa'idatan, this is the ain lam ta. So wa'ida. So these are the two masdars. For huwa, this means, for huwa means, and the file would be wa'idun. Does this look like a normal form? So what would be the file for daraba? Dari bun. So any issue with the file? Not really. So the file is normal. So in this whole row with ma'loom, so this is madi ma'loom, this is fail mudari ma'loom, this is the masdar. For huwa wa'idun, this is the file. The only issue happens with fail mudari where the waw is dropped. Do you think the waw is dropped or is it replaced by ya? So is it appropriate to say that waw is dropped or waw is replaced?
In which
in this ya'idu?
in which case?
In ya'idu.
It's replaced.
No. The ya is the mudare indicator in any case. Like daraba, the mudare would be yadribu. So in this case, the waw is dropped. The ya over here is the ya indicator, like mudare. It's the fail mudare indicator, or the the elamat for mudare. The waw is just dropped. Everything else is normal. Okay, then over here, wu'ida. What does wu'ida mean? So this is like duriba.
Majhul.
This is majhul. So fa'ala, majhul, fu'ila. So this is majhul. Now, how do you make majhul in mudare? So yaf'alu, yuf'alu, right? So yuf'alu is the majhul. So does you, are a dhamma and a waw friends? Yes, they are. So dhamma and waw is smooth. So you adu. So notice that in the mudare majhul, everything is normal. So you adu, there is no issue over here. And then ba'dan, the two masters are fine. Fahuwa maw'udun. Maw'udun means the that which is promised. So this is the maf'ul. So fahuwa maw'udun follows the standard pattern maf'ulun. So I hope you see this, right? Does this follow maf'ulun? The fa letter is waw, ain letter is ain, and lam letter is dal. So maf'ulun, maw'udun. So this is normal. And then you come to the command. With the command, we said that the command will not have a waw. Okay, now if you remember, how do you create the command? So normally, how would you create a command from yadribu? You would you would remove the present tense or mudare indicator, and then you look at the da. The da has a sukoon, so you can't start a letter, a word with a sukoon. So then you add a alif, and then you look at the ra. It has a kasra, so I put a kasra idre. But what is happening over here? Over here, the present tense indicator is a ya. So I actually have ya, I, do. If I remove the present tense indicator, is the next letter mutaharrik? It has a kasra, so I don't need to add an alif because this doesn't have a spoon. It has an alif. So id is and then with making a command, the last letter becomes jazm. So all the things that I'm saying here are things we've seen earlier. So yadribu becomes idrib, and ya'idu becomes id. So id is the command, and then the negative command is la ta'id. So la, and then the fail mudare second person ta'id, and this is majzoom. So this is the positive command, the command. This is the negative command, and then in the table before I said these are the ismul zarf. Maw'adun, maw'idun, maw'adatun. If you remember our lesson on ismul zarf, these are the patterns. So maf'alun, maf'ilun, maf'alatun. So those are the three ways in which ismul zarf can appear. And then if you remember ismul ala has a kasra, meme kasra. So if you remember for a key, that was miftah, or a fan, mirwaha. So notice here, meme with a kasra. Now, what is the first root letter? It's a waw. If I have a meme kasra waw, this gives me a u sound, which we don't like. Arabs don't like the mu sound. So when there's a sound like this, what do? We replace the waw with a ya. So that's why over here with the ismul ala, instead of having mu adun, which sounds terrible, we change it to mi adun, mi adatun, mi adun. So this would be the ismul ala forms. All right, and here is the point. Note that the waw is dropped in the mudare. That's happening here, and it's also dropped in the amr. That's happening here. Also notice that the ala, so that's over here, ismul ala, which you would expect to be miu adan, which sounds terrible. This is transformed into something that sounds much smoother, which is mi adon. So the key point is, there are 2-3 key points. One is the waw is always dropped in mithal wawi, and if you have these ugly sounds, then you make changes so that the sound becomes more smooth. All right, any questions here before I move on? These things will take some time to sink in. Okay, next we have mithal yai. So mithal yai, with salati mujarrad, this behaves like a normal fail, and does not display any irregularities. So take a look at this chart. Ya'isa, Ya'asu, Ya'san. So Ya'isa, what are the root letters here? We have Ya, Hamza, and Sin. So Ya'isa, how will I make this Mudare? I just add this Mudare indicator, Ya'i Asu. So this is like Samiya Yasma'u. So Ya'isa, Ya'i Asu, and Ya'san is the master. Fahuwa Ya'isun. So this is following the pattern Fa'ilun. So this is all good. Then we come to Majhul. Majhul is Fu'ila. So on the Fu'ila pattern, we have Yu'isa. And then this is where an issue comes. What would you expect the Mudare Majhul to look like? So, Mudare, the regular Mudare is Yaf. This is the regular Mudari or Malum. What does the Majhul look like?
Yufalu.
Exactly. The Majhul looks like Yuf'alu. Okay, so if your root letters are Ya, Alif, and Sin, what would this become? Ya, Dhamma, Ya.
Yu'asu.
It would become You. So this Ya, Dhamma, Ya. Does this sound smooth or does this sound ugly?
Doesn't sound good.
It does not sound good. So when it doesn't sound good, what do? We replace the Ya with a Waw. Why? How do I know that a Waw is going to come here? Because a Waw is buddies with Dhamma. So the Dhamma is strong. So notice instead of the Ya, even though the Ya is a root letter, but over here that root letter is replaced by the by Waw, because Waw is more smooth, as in after a Dhamma, Waw is more smooth. So Yu'asu is the Majhul form. And then Ya'san, the Masdar, is the same. Fahuwa, and then this is the Maf'ul, so it will take on the form Maf'ulun. So Maf'ulun, May'usun. Do you see any issue here, or is this just the way you would expect it? Like Maf'ulun, May'usun. So this is quite normal, right? So the Ya is the Fa letter, Hamza is the Ain letter, and Lam letter is Sin. So Maf'ulun, May'usun, so no issue here. And then with Ismul, so E-us, what is this? What does this mean? This is the command. So this is following the regular pattern, right? How do we create the command? What do we start with? We start with the fail mudare. What's the first thing we do? We remove the present tense indicator, and then we notice that the Ya has a sukoon. We obviously can't start with the sukoon, so what do? We add an alif. And then how do we know that we have a kasra over here? Because the middle letter has a fatha, so here we will put a kasra, and then the sin at the end will have a sukoon. So this is the command. La tay'as, this is the negative command. No issues over here. Follows exactly the same rules we've discussed earlier. Mai asun. So this is, what is this? Mai asun. What are these three? These are the ismul zarf. Fai alun, Fai ilun, and Fai alatun. All right. No, this is no. Actually, for ismul zarf we'll have maf'alun, maf'ilun, and maf'alatun. So exactly what we would expect we see here. And with ismul ala, the three forms of ismul ala are also regular. Notice that the ya is not dropped in mudare. So with the fail mudare, the ya is not dropped, but with majhul, the ya is transformed into a waw. So we discussed that. This is to avoid this u or ugly sound. All right, so that's the salati mujarrad. Now we come to mazid fi. With mazid fi, the following two major rules apply. When the U sound is created, the vowel transforms to a Y for smoothness. We've seen this before. This occurs in the muster of families 4 and 10. So what's family 4? So so family 4 example in this dream textbook is aslama. What does this sound like? Anyone?
Afala.
Af'ala, akrama. So what's this? Family 4 is which bab?
Ikram. Ifal.
Akrama, yukrimu, ikraman. So that's bab.
Ifal.
Bab ifal. And then family 10 is istaghfara is the example used in the dream textbook. What example did we use? Istansara, yastansiru, istinsaran. So that's bab istifal, right? So this 10 is bab istifal. Okay. So that's istaghfara, asking for forgiveness. So anyway, so with these two babs, bab ifal and bab istifal, whenever there's a u sound, the vowel transforms into a ya, and the vowel merges with the ta with family 8, iqtaraba. So iqtaraba, what does this sound like with respect to our examples? Does anyone remember? Iqtaraba sounds like there's a alif kasra in the beginning and then a ta in the middle. Ijtanaba yajtanibu ijtinaban. So this is babe iftial. So we need to learn these babs. So ijtanaba yajtanibu ijtinab. So this is babe iftial. So what happens here? The vowel, whatever the vowel is, be it a waw or a ya, it will go away and it will just merge with this ta over here. So we have a vowel in the fa location that goes away and we just will make a ta with a shadda. So we'll see examples of all this. Okay. Now, other than these two scenarios, the other is in the vowel will generally behave normally. So let's look at family 4 first with mithal wawi. Okay. Aujasa yujisu ijasan. So what are the root letters with aujasa?
Wow. Jim, Sin.
Yeah, jim, sin. So, and this is babe ifal, like akrama. So akrama yukrimu ikraman. So aujasa, yujisu, and then ikraman becomes, what would the normal thing be for, the masdar is ikraman, right? So if I were to make this, with waw, jim, sin, what would I write? I would write alif, kasra, and then the fa letter is waw.
You, Jason.
Yeah, you.
You.
Ja, son. So is this an U sound?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ugly. So what do we do?
Place it to the ya.
Exactly. This gets replaced with a ya. So then that becomes ijasan. So other than that, all the other, so just to check whether you're with me. So this is the majhul, mazi majhul, mudare majhul, mastar. So the two masters are the same, whether we are talking ma'loom or majhul. And then fahuwa mujisun. So what does this mean? Is there any issue happening over here? فهو موجس. Do you remember how do you create a file with mazid fi? You replace the present tense indicator with the meme dhamma, and then we put a kasra on the ain letter. So mujisun. So that's exactly what we are doing here. And how do we create a maful?
Fatha on the ain.
Fatha on the ain letter. Mujasun. So that's exactly, so no issue over here. And then what is awjas? This is the amr. And
Command.
the only place where we have a fatha, alif fatha on the command is with bab ifal. In all other cases, either we'll have an alif dhamma, alif kasra, or the alif is removed altogether. All right. Okay, next. Now if we look at mithal ya'i with babe ifal. Same rules, I've just repeated them here. So ayqana. So here, this is mithal ya'i. So our root letters are ya, qaf, and noon. So with the root letters as ya, qaf, noon, what would like if we are making the basic past tense, which is akrama. So akrama, how would we do that with ya, qaf, and noon? It would be
Aikana.
So it would be qa, and then na. So ayqana, misal yai. This sounds okay. So ayqana is not a u sound, so we actually keep this. Then the next is, what would fail mudare look like? It would look like ya. Do you remember akrama? Akrama, what's the fail mudare for akrama? Akrama yukrimu ikraman. Akrama yukrimu ikraman, right? So this would become yui. Yukrimu become yui ki. No. Does that sound ugly? Yui.
Yeah.
This sounds ugly. So what's the solution?
Replace the ya with the waw.
Exactly. The solution is replace the ya with a waw, which is what's happening here.
Yeah.
And then ikraman, iqanan. So this is actually okay. Fahuwa muqinun. So this is normal. Uqina, what is this? Mazi majhul.
Majhul.
Fu ila, ukrima, uqina. So this is normal. The majhul here would be actually what's happening over here. This would actually be, the majhul would be, since this is mithal ya'i, if this were following the regular rules, it would be ui qina. But ui is ugly, so we replace the ya with a waw. So notice wherever we have a dhamma, if there is a ya after that, that gets replaced with a waw. So in uqina, yuqanu, even though we see waws over here, but the actual root letter is ya. So iqanan fahuwa muqanun. So again, this is mithal ya'i, but by and large, ya doesn't show up. Mostly it is waw showing up. So notice that despite ya being the root letter, it only shows up in three forms. The madhi, so it shows up over here. The amr, which is aiqin, and the masdar, which is over here. In all other cases, since we have dhamma, then instead of the ya, we have a Instead of a ya, we have a wow. And all this happens to avoid the u sounds. Okay, family 8. So family 8 is ijtanaba. Ijtanaba yajtanibu ijtinaban. So babe iftial. So this rule will now apply. The vowel merges with the ta. So let's see what's happening here. This is ittakhaza yattakhizu. So the root letters here is waw, ha, dal. So wahad, like oneness, comes from here. Waw, ha, da, wahid means one. So ittahada, like ittihadan, this means unity. And with unity, you know, that comes from wahad or one. So the root letter, first root letter is waw. So this is misale wawi. But with family 8, what happens? The waw gets removed and sort of merged with the ta. So let me show you what that means. If we take ijtanaba, which is the word that we've learned, so ijtanaba or ifta'ala, if the jim were replaced with a waw, which is the first root letter, then we would have you, the, ha, you, tahada. It sounds very ugly. So what are we saying? This waw merges with the ta. So the ta, we make it a shadda. So this becomes ittahada. So that's what we see over here. Ittahada, yattahidu, ittihadan. Also earlier when we have mahmuz, akhaza, you might recall from the last class, ittakhaza. So there also the same sort of thing happens. If we had alif and we have form 8, the hamza gets, actually this was a hamza. So akhaza form 8 becomes ittakhaza. So the hamza merges with the ta. Same things happening over here. Uttakhida, yuttakhadu, ittikhadan. So in this entire set, even though waw is a root letter, but there is no sign of a waw because this waw is just merging with the ta, which is part of the form 8 of the ijtanaba family. So it's just the first root letter just merges with the ta of babe iftial. Okay. We are getting close to the end here. It looks probably intimidating, but once you spend some time with this and practice, it's not too bad. Okay, family 10. Family 10 is istansara, yastansiru, istinsar. So the example that we take here is istawqada. Istawqada naran. This shows up in at the beginning of Surah Baqarah. So what's happening here? In family 10, we are saying that the U sound is created, the waw transforms into a ya. So this is misale wawi, istawqada means to light a fire. Here the root letters are waw, qaf, and dal. So istawqada is all right. So this is fine. Yastawqidu. So istansara, yes, tansiru, this is also okay. But in the masdar, istansara, yastansiru, istinsarun. So istinsarun or run. So what happens here? The alif, kasra, sin, and ta, these are all part of the pattern. But then the fa letter, if the fa letter is a waw, then this is istiu, tin saw run. So qa done. This part is problematic. Tiu is problematic. So what do? We replace the wow with a ya. So this becomes is. The wow gets replaced by a ya. So isti qa done. That's what we have over here. So istiqadan. So the masdar changes, but everything else is fine. So notice that the waw is transforming into a ya in the masdar and is returned and retained in all these other sigas or all these other words. All right, so this is the final slide which just summarizes. So when we talk about the overarching rule, the biggest rule to remember is that we don't want any EU sound. So whenever there's a EU sound, that means that something needs to be done. And what needs to be done? Here there are two key questions. Whether you drop the vowel or whether you transform the vowel. And again, I'm just recapping what we've discussed. So if you have Salasi Mujarrad, so that's what we are talking about over here. So if you have Salasi Mujarrad, then if you have waw in the beginning, so this is mithal wawi, then it is the waw is dropped in the fail mudare and the fail amr and nahi. So the example is ya'idu. Notice normally this would have a waw in there, so like daraba yadribu, but the fa letter, which is a waw, is dropped. The waw is also dropped in the fail amr, and it's also dropped in the negative command. So this is the negative command. Okay, and then ismul ala, the waw is transformed into a ya. This is not so common. The bigger thing to remember is over here that if you have salasi mujarrad and waw is in the beginning, that waw is dropped with mudare, amr, and negative command, but it is maintained in your masdar. It's also retained in your past tense, fail madi. And then over here, form 4, this is babe iftial, akrama yukrimu ikraman. If we are talking about misale wawi, then we have a replacement. So the waw becomes ya in the masdar, like iqadan. So this was a waw, but it becomes ya. And over here, if in form 4, babe ifal, we have misale ya'i, which means ya comes first, then the ya only shows up in these letters. All other places we have waw. And then this is form 10, misale wawi. The waw becomes a ya over here. And with misale ya yi, the ya becomes a waw in the majhul. Now, this was actually a summary. I think this is better understood from the earlier slides. But the most important rule is there's no U sound. All right. Now, with some, obviously, this seems a little intimidating, but at least you've hopefully understood in principle what the rules are. And you've understood that misale wawi means that you have a waw in the beginning. Misale ya'i means you have a ya in the beginning. There are some rules related to salati mujarrad, and then there are a few rules related to mazid fi. All right. Now, for homework, I'm going to send you these slides. In fact, I've already sent you the slides. What I want you to do is look through these ayat and then identify all the verbs like yajidu. So there is either, so there are misals over here, misale ya'i or misale wawi. So I want you to identify that. And one easy way to do this is, I don't know if you've installed this application on your phone, but if you haven't done so, you can just make a note of this. This is the application that I've talked to you about, which is this is called Al-Quran. Al-Quran Tafsir and by word. So just search for this on your on your phone. So tafsir and by word. So here it's easy to go to each ayat and then you just click on a word and it will tell you the root letters. It will tell you the past tense, present tense, what the verb form is. So I encourage you to do that, and that will also help you figure out what the root letters are. So do that for all these ayat. Okay, any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to shift to the Quranic ayat.